Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back for day 2 of this Adobe Behance live stream. I'm your host once again, Fabiola Lara. Thank you for joining us for part 2. Today on the stream, we're back with Belinda Kou. Belinda, what's going on? How are you feeling today for part 2?
I'm good. I'm excited to get moving with our art that we made yesterday.
Yes, today we're adding a ton of motion, right?
Yes.
Oh, I'm so excited. Okay, before we get into that, check out the Creative Cloud Express streams on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday mornings. This week, Alex Lazaras will show us, I think it's Alex Lazaras, will show us how to get started in the easy-to-use app to create brochures and social graphics. Start your day with the Photoshop Creative Challenges hosted by Wade Acuff, who's in the chat, I think, every weekday at 9 a.m. Pacific. Tune in and challenge yourself with a new prompt each and every day. Now, do me a favor. If you're watching us from YouTube, please jump over to Behance. Come on down to Behance. That's behance.net/Adobe Live, and you'll get the most interactive experience. We can chat. We can keep up with the chat box. We can talk with Belinda. It's way more fun over here. So come on over and we can get to hang out during this stream. Now, one more thing before we get to work. Remember, you can watch the replays for all the Adobe live streams, even when we're offline. So go ahead and bookmark this page so you can come back to it whenever you need a little refresh, including of this lesson with Belinda. All right, let me see who's in the chat, Belinda. Let's see who we got here. We got Bliss Art. We got Anna Katerina, Andreas, I think Pizza Soup or Soup Pizza's in here. So we're doing amazing today. All right, Belinda, tell us what we're getting into. Go do a little intro for those who maybe missed yesterday's stream. Give us the lowdown.
All right. So hi, I'm Belinda Kou, here for day 2 of Adobe Live. Super excited to get into the food lettering that we made yesterday and animate it. And I am a lettering artist and illustrator in Chicago. I started in a very different field of science and middle school education, and then made a couple of career changes since then, had a couple of kids after that, and then now I have been running my lettering freelance business for a couple of years. So it has been fun. You can find me online as Belinda S. Kou on Behance here, on Instagram, on TikTok, on my website. If you are curious of starting freelance lettering, I do have a guide that you can download for free on my website, so you can check that out there. And as you can see, my work is playful and colorful. I make work for clients like Coach, NPR, Adobe, and Trader Joe's. And we talked a little bit about one of my series yesterday, so I can just give you a peek of that if you didn't get a chance to see it.
Yes, this is amazing. I'm so glad you're showing this off because it's so cool.
It's a fun one. I have combined fairy tales and food together. They're two of my favorite things into the series, where it's lettering, pushing the lettering styles and the illustration integration, as well as color palettes. So I do like to infuse a lot of energy and magic to my work, and we'll translate that into animation today for some of the pieces that we were working on yesterday.
Yes, I have to mention the color palette gradient that you have going on with this overall project is so impressive. If you were here yesterday, we were talking about it. Look at that. It just goes so smoothly, and it's like the nicest little collection. It's so thoughtful. I'm so impressed by that because it's hard to keep a color palette, especially when you're trying to make it a gradient like that progressively. I'm impressed by your discipline.
Oh, thank you. It did take some planning. And at the time, I wanted to challenge myself to stretch my color limit because I was exploring maybe 5 colors at the time. And I was like, let's just try the whole rainbow and see, how to work with different background colors, as well as figuring out what colors I actually like to use. So it was a good experiment.
So smart. So smart. Okay. So tell us about today. Where are we at compared to yesterday?
All right, so let's do a little overview of yesterday. So we started with a brainstorm exercise, which should look familiar to those of you who attended yesterday. We had a pizza themed piece and a soup themed piece. What you see here is just a brain dump of word associations that we put out there so that we can pick from that library of illustrations and stuff to create pieces like this and like this.
Yes, it was very controversial yesterday. The audience was divided on pizza or soup. So,
so we ended up doing the pizza, but I do have a soup started as well. So we can work on that today to finish that up and animate so that both sides can be treated to what we wanted.
And oh my gosh, what a treat for everyone.
Yeah. And I have an update of where we landed with our illustration yesterday. So this is
gorgeous. This is amazing. Can you walk me through the things that you added from yesterday?
Yes. So I played a little bit with the color because when we ended at our last stream, I looked at the contrast and it was a little bit competing between the background and the text, like there wasn't enough contrast. Mm-hmm. So I added some more saturation to the background and added textures. As you can see now, crust and these words look more crusty than they did yesterday. A little crumbly, the flaky like crumbs that fall off when you're eating your pizza.
I can see it.
I also added in some more of our veggies just to have a more movement and framing of the color in there. And what else did I do? I actually added an exclamation mark because I was really bothered yesterday with just one pepperoni up here. It seemed like we needed another one to balance it out. Yes. And that was my solution to still keeping the pepperoni in the text, but having a bit of a better balance to the composition.
Yeah, that is so subtle. Like now that you mentioned it, I noticed it, but originally it just flows so harmoniously within the composition that I didn't even alarm me. And I love that it kind of holds the two diagonally, like they're just what's it called, mirroring each other, and it's so pleasant. I love that. That was a good eye there.
So it worked out. Sometimes it doesn't work out that way because of the words that you're using, but in this case it worked out.
It did. Yeah. And I also noticed like you mentioned, the arugula or the veggie pieces. They're like circular now. Before, I think we were missing a few yesterday on the stream, and now they're like really leading your eye from place to place, which smart. You can tell, guys, this is a professional eye here.
All right. So we are going to add some movement to this now. So hopefully you are ready to do that. Now I'm doing all of it in Fresco because as an artist who primarily works with static images, something like After Effects is a really huge leap. So what I'm showing today is a really simple way for you to add some subtle movement to your work. If you've never done it before, this is the perfect stream to tune into and do it all on your iPad. You don't even have to go to your desktop for this.
I'm so excited for this part because I've been playing with the motion tools, but I feel like you are going to show us some stuff that I haven't even thought of doing based on what I've been seeing from other pieces that you've done. So I'm very excited. I want to remind those people in the chat, if you have any questions about where we're at with this composition, and throughout the stream, of course, drop them in the chat and, we'll get those questions answered. I just wanted to remind everyone because I know a lot has changed since yesterday and it looks amazing. I'm so excited.
Yes. So, and you can see a little sneak peek of the soup too.
Oh my gosh. While we're here, guys, while we're waiting for this to load, drop a pizza emoji if you were team pizza and a soup emoji if you were team soup. I'm curious what we have going on today. Yesterday was very pizza heavy. And I'm curious if the tides have changed now that we're on day 2. And it feels a little colder out here too. I'm leaning more soupy today.
Yeah, my hands are cold right now. So definitely team soup today.
I definitely have the warmest, ugliest socks on right now just to, you can't see it, but it's happening.
Yes. Got to keep the feet warm.
Yes.
So I'm back in the sketch page because right now I want to show you the feature that you can use to add the movement, as well as some basic planning that I'll do sometimes when I'm thinking about what kind of motion I want to add to it, especially when it starts to get complex. I find that sketching it in advance is a nice way to think it through before you get right into it.
Cool.
So here is our rough sketch. It's pretty close to today's piece, so I'll just keep it so that we have a little bit of a visual reference for how we want to do things. Yesterday, we talked about making that cheese drip, so I think we're definitely going to do that today. And to access the motion panel, it is down at the bottom right by your ruler. So you just click on this little circular thing and it pulls up the timeline.
It's so subtle. It's like the most discreet little button, and then it just unleashes all these other tools.
Yes, there's some fun stuff in here. So you can either, let's see, I'm going to just draw something real quick. Maybe we can just do like a pizza kind of shape. So let's say we start out this way, and you can see that there's a frame down here. Now, the different ways that you can add motion is right now we are doing frame by frame. So that means like every new frame that I draw, I can draw a little bit different and add a little bit of movement to it, which is kind of my favorite way to add animation to my work, because you can make it super subtle just by tracing over, say, this pizza. And I'm going to turn on the onion skin. So I just added a plus to make a new frame. And then under settings, you have these settings for like frames per second, how you want it to play back, as well as onion skin, which is nice because it shows you the frames that are before and after. And you can choose how far to see into the future or the past for your animation.
Oh, that's super helpful too, especially when you're trying to like add. I know right now, I think you're just gonna like kind of trace over it, but when you're actually trying to do a little bit of movement, subtle movement, left, right, up, down, that's really handy.
Yeah. So as you can see, I just roughly traced it and it's not perfect so that you can see it wiggle, which is like my favorite way to animate lettering. Is just make it wiggle a little bit.
I love the wiggle. It's like so simple, but it adds so much charm, don't you think?
Yes, definitely. So I'm hitting play all and it's like super fast, but you can see it's already moving. And under motion settings, you can just adjust the frames to the speed that you like. There really is that. Like my way is just move it around until it feels good.
Yeah.
So
until it's not like jarring your eyes.
Yeah, like it's not jarring your eyes. You don't feel like panicked when you watch it move too quickly. So this is like a nice way to add movement. And if you're doing, like some sort of letter with it, like hi.
Oh, yes.
And play it. Oops, did I just draw high twice on one? Yes, I did.
It's a classic mistake. It happens to all of us. How many like tracings would you recommend to get like a good wiggle?
I like to start with at least 3. So when I've tried it with 2 just because I'm like, I don't want to spend too much time doing this. But 2 is kind of too back and forth, whereas 3 is nice pacing.
Right, so, like your eye can detect that it's only 2 or something. I don't know how, because it feels like it goes by so fast. But yeah, I feel like 3 is a sweet spot.
Yeah, so this is like a nice, very simple frame by frame animation. Now, if we wanted to do something different, and I'm going to go on a new layer. And this is the nice thing about Fresco too, is that my animation is only happening on one layer. Like I've got all this other stuff that's happening in here, but it's not touched because the animation or the motion is only added on that layer. So
cool.
I'm going to do a new layer and show you the other thing that we can do. So I don't know if we're going to do this in our actual animation, but let's say we have a piece of spinach or arugula and we want it to just float around in the air. Now, instead of doing a frame by frame, which require a lot of drawing it over and over again, you can hit this path tool that's at the bottom. If you look right here, right there.
I've been looking at that button, but I have no idea how to actually use it. So I'm very interested in what's about to go down.
Yeah, so I just hit path. You can see a new thing pop up that's effects, which is the settings that you use to control your path. And on the canvas, I could just do like a circle. Okay. And now it's following the path. And on the side panel, the layer properties, that's where the effects are. You can adjust where or how fast you want it to be. So that's kind of down here.
I am shocked. I am alarmed. I had no idea this was here. I mean, I had an idea that it was here, but I had no idea how to actually implement it in my work. The woman was too stunned to speak, I would say.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like, I don't use this as much, but when I discovered it in Fresco as well, I was like, this is cool. Yes. You can even add multiples without drawing the new thing. So maybe I have a 3 pieces of arugula were circling around.
That is crazy. That just like duplicated your drawing and it's just one little setting.
Yeah, and then like scattering it, I can adjust the speed for whether I want it to be uniform or the original speed. So uniform is like if I can draw multiple, let's see if I can do this here. I can draw multiple paths. So if you want them all to be the same. They each have 3? Yeah, they each have 3 right now. But I can bring it down to 1 too.
Okay, wait 1 second. When have you used this in your work? Because I feel like would be amazing for like sparkles.
Yes. So I like using it for more ambient stuff personally, where it's like sparkles or shooting stars or snow effect. It's really nice to do that because then you can have just like a simple, let's start with a new layer here.
And you only have to draw it once?
Yeah, you only have to draw it once.
That is such a game changer. I don't know if anyone else in the chat feels this way, but I feel like only drawing something once and being able to animate it repeatedly over one drawing just seems like groundbreaking news. This is groundbreaking information for me.
So let's just pretend we're doing a bunch of like stars.
Okay.
You could just do something like this and it just, you can do multiples and like scatter it if you wanted to make it maybe a little bit faster. There's like an ease in, ease out kind of deal where it like starts slow and comes out faster.
That is so cool. With anything that you draw, I feel like this unlocks so many possibilities for me. I'm so excited to see how you use it in this piece.
Yeah.
I'm very curious.
We probably won't do this today, but you can also combine frame by frame with the path. So if your star is kind of like wiggling, or maybe you have like a butterfly or something that's moving, you can draw a path to it and it can move while going across the canvas at the same time.
So it can be frame by frame on a path.
Yes. Yeah. So you can stack it up and it can be super advanced, which is pretty cool.
That's really cool too, because I love that everything's on a separate layer. So like, because I could see it getting kind of sloppy, like the animation, but with everything being on its own layer, I feel like it's really easy to keep it organized and keep track of all the different motion elements.
Yes, for sure. And then the only thing that you want to keep track of when you are adding motion is you'll have right here, it'll show you how many total frames you have. And it's just key if you have multiple pieces moving on different layers to work in multiples of that total number of frames. So for example, this is 3 right now, but say you have like 12 frames, then you want to work in like 3 or 4 for across all of them so that if they're looping, they can be timed right. Otherwise things will get cut off and it'll look funny. And you can tell too, if you're not counting, if it's kind of cut off. And
right,
because
it's still area. Like I would assume like the largest amount of frames is what you want to work towards, right? So like if you have 12, like you were saying, you'd want to make sure everything fits neatly into those 12.
Yeah, like you wouldn't want to have one animation that takes 5 frames because it's going to go to 10 and get confused and cut off and start over at a weird point. I've had that happen to me before. I'm like, why is this thing looking like it's having like a
stuttering or something?
Yeah, like it's stuttering. So that's usually because your layer count isn't matching up or your frame count.
Okay. I could see the math becoming something that you have to adjust to, but I think it's well worth the ease. Like you're doing this all on your iPad. I could totally see myself animating a full piece, just, sitting on the couch.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. You can do that sitting on the couch while watching Netflix and it's great.
Guilty.
Yes, it's so good. I think it's a great way to stimulate your creative juices when you're focused on something else, but yeah, totally. All right, so stoked. Let's look at our pizza and figure out how we want to add movement to it now, and then we'll jump to the actual thing to do it. Okay. So I had shown just a simple way to make it wiggle. I think that the things that we might want to wiggle could be like the sparkles on the page as opposed to the whole like pizza itself. Mm-hmm. What I would like to do with a pizza is definitely make the cheese ooze. So maybe it starts out like this in like frame 1, and then the next frame, it'll just kind of drip a little bit. And then if we work, I usually just do frame X because I slowly get to my end point. Mm-hmm. It'll be like a really drippy pizza.
Okay. And then you can have it loop back, right?
Yeah, you can loop it back. You can either have it start over from the beginning again, or we have the cheese just kind of go back up into the pizza. We can decide that once we get
I'm
there.
into both versions. That's so neat. I agree with this motion.
Yes, great. So
Literally.
we'll do motion for the pizza and then we can pick another layer. So maybe we have motion for the sparkles, because that is my go-to when it comes to adding a little bit of movement to my pieces. Is if I want to do something quick, but give it some more motion, some more interest, I will tackle the little decorative elements I have and make those wiggle just a little bit. So that's
Yeah.
like a 3-frame thing. So
I've definitely sat there and like done it frame by frame. And the idea of being able to just do it like in so many less taps is very exciting.
yes, the less the better, right?
Yes.
And then the other thing that we can do is I've got some clouds. Maybe we can use the path for the clouds to make those move. Kind of like going across the background.
Yes, I'm down.
So, and this
I feel like they're gonna look like they're floating. They're just like anchoring this piece in the sky.
Yes. So this is my rough plan. You don't have to do this part. I like to do this part just to map out what I want to start working towards before I get into the details of things.
Yeah.
So let's go to our canvas.
If it's one thing I've noticed from your process is that you are very like you are planning it and then taking action, which I think is definitely the way to go, because you don't want to animate something and then be like, oh, never mind. That conflicts with this other animation that maybe is stronger for my piece.
Yeah, I like to plan just because it helps me to picture my end goal before I get started. Yeah. Otherwise, if I get started, I might not know where I'm going. And it's like, I think in The Office, Michael Scott has like a run-on sentence where he's like trying to talk, and it just feels a lot like that, where it's just a run-on sentence and I don't know how I'm going to end things if I don't plan.
Yes. And then you're never sure if you're done that way.
Yes, you don't know if you're done. Okay, so right now I am in my pizza group right here. They're all in this layer right here. When I go to add motion to it, I believe it covers the entire group.
Okay.
But I'm gonna go in here and just double check that I'm on the right layers. Okay, great. So I'm down in my animation frame and I am going to start making the pizza ooze a little bit. And the way that I like to do it is I will have my beginning frame, which is this one, just, triangle, but we want it to become cheesier. And I'll draw my end frame so that I know what to aim towards, and then use the onion skin to draw in between. So
smart, as opposed to working the other way and just being like, am I done yet?
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's go into the cheesy part. And I'm going to duplicate that frame so that I don't have to redraw the entire thing. I'm just going to draw this bottom part of the pizza and make it drip.
Perfect. Efficiency, guys. Efficiency.
Yes. And I'm picking the same color as a pizza, and I'm using the brush I was using yesterday, which is Kyle's Inkbox Amazing Cartoon Nib.
Yes. And if you missed it yesterday, we were talking about how all of the Kyle T. Webster brushes are free to download, and you can easily import them into Adobe Fresco on your iPad. So if you want to use the exact brush Belinda's using, you can. It's totally free, and you can get started and follow along and start animating today, right now.
Yeah, it's under the Mega Pack too, so there's a lot of really cool brushes in there.
So many brushes. I'm sure you'll find the link in the chat if you need it. And ooh, I love this ooze.
We're getting oozy.
Once again, making me hungry. Once again,
trying to decide how much of this cheese do we want it to get onto the crust. I think someone yesterday mentioned like a stuffed crust.
Yes, there was our way of the stuffed crust for sure.
Getting the cheese on there. I guess we can decide on it later.
Do you think be nice, because then it's like interacting with the other elements, as long as it doesn't kind of obscure the writing.
Yeah, do you think it should drip on there? I can do that.
Ooh, I'm loving this. Seeing it all come together now.
I'm just gonna, let's just have it do this. The crust is in front of it, so it's okay if it kind of drips behind it, right?
Yeah. I'm so into this. How long do you think it usually takes you to like animate a piece? Like if you were to start, you like we're doing today, take something static and start animating it, how much more time does that like add to your process?
I usually only allot maybe 30 minutes to do everything. And it includes experimenting because I'm not like a pro animator or anything. I'm more of a lettering artist who does animation on occasion. So these are the tricks I'm showing. But yeah, I'll probably dedicate about that much time. But if I want to do more complex animation, which we're not doing today just because our concepts don't have it, where it's like showing how script writing is going to come out on the canvas, that takes a way longer time for me.
Yeah, I can totally see that. 30 minutes, that's so fast to just like bring it to life still, because I've seen a lot of your work on Instagram and like other social media, I think TikTok, and I've seen it move, and it feels like that's something that could take, in my opinion, if you were to ask me, it'd be like, oh, that definitely took like an hour and a half extra. But I guess it's because I wasn't aware of these Fresco tools.
Yeah. And I mean, if you're first starting out, it can take longer too, just because you're figuring out the tool, but you get faster as you go, just like with lettering.
Yes. Do you know, this is a question for anyone in the chat if you don't know, but can you copy like animation paths and stuff like that in the Fresco tools? Have you played with that? Copy?
No, I haven't. So
copy. You can copy the frames. Okay.
Yes, I'm copying the frames. The path, I'm not sure. So I guess if someone in the chat has done that before, definitely make sure to chime in.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right. So I'm duplicating my frame now, and I'm in between frame 1 and 3 because 1 is the starting point, 3 is the end point. I need to get to the end point first and then figure out how we want to loop this thing, or maybe just have it start over and not worry about it.
Okay.
So I can see this is 1, it's the darker part, and then 3 is right here. So I'm going to just draw a little bit, since I duplicated it, I'm just going to draw a little bit in between.
Nice. Oh, someone in the chat, Anika, says you can copy the motion paths.
Ooh, that is so cool.
Smart. I was thinking about it in terms of efficiency, how you can work a little faster. And it's always about that copy and paste and duplicating. Speeds up so much of the workflow. Shout out, Anika. Thank you for letting us know.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. So you got this. I'm thinking now this has more of it has progressed a longer distance than say here at the end, because when you're holding that pizza, usually that's where the cheese oozes out first. So that's why I'm having this go a little bit faster.
Yeah, I feel like it takes kind of practice to figure out how many frames you need to really accomplish a movement, because if you were to do that in like, let's say 10 frames, maybe it would feel too slow, or like too like you want to basically fill in the blank, right? Like you don't necessarily need to show every single frame if you want it to be faster. And that's like a tricky, more animation side of thinking, I think.
Yes. Yeah, it definitely is. And I know there's like theories and everything too to learn for how to speed things up, like a bouncing ball in physics.
Yeah, exactly. So that's like the main example I think of. And I feel like you've probably practiced it just by using these tools in your work.
Yeah. And I've looked at the bouncing ball example too, just to see like, where is that pacing? Oh, it slows down at the top, and that means there's more frames they need to use to slow it down.
Yeah.
And when it drops again, you skip a bunch of distance to get it to move faster.
Yes. And you're kind of using that same technique here, right? Because you don't need to add all the frames to make it move down.
Yes. Yep.
Smart stuff here, Belinda. I feel like you don't even realize that you already are applying these things, which is why I'm pointing them all out.
It's good to point out for sure. Okay.
Ooh, okay.
So I'm going to go to about here. I realized I probably should have started with the sparkles first because that's simpler, but I was just too excited to get into cheese.
No, this is going to be like the best payoff.
All right.
For sure.
let's check this. We're at 5 frames right now. I'm going to play it and make sure that I'm drawing them all on the correct frames before I get too far.
Good idea.
So it's oozing.
It's so exciting to see. Like, I know that we knew what we were doing, but to actually see it come to life is something completely different.
Yeah, so it's like fun to have that happen. And then we can decide, do we need it to drip down even more? Does it need to drip down and then detach somehow and like start over again? We can kind of figure that out as we go. I usually don't decide that until I see it play, just because, yeah, I'm like, I'll decide on the go.
Yeah, I feel like it could be faster. Is that just me?
Yeah, do we want to make it faster?
Maybe just like 1 frame faster? Oh, I don't know if it made much of a difference, but I am really into it. I think breaking it off, like you said, or having it loop backwards, both are really good options.
Yeah. So let's see. I'm at the end now because I'm thinking maybe we should have it break off before it starts over again. So we're going to duplicate that last frame and have it.
This is the breakaway layer.
Yeah, the breakaway layer. Like, how much of that should be dripping? So like, I'm imagining there'll be like a droplet down here.
Yes, yes, PJ in the chat. The cheese should drip off at the end. Then when it repeats, it's a fresh blob of cheese. Couldn't have said it better myself. A fresh blob of cheese is definitely what we're after.
We want a fresh blob of cheese. Sounds good.
I'm into this. And I feel like you only have like 6 frames, but there's so much motion in just 6 frames. Sometimes when I look at pieces, I think that I need to draw like, I don't know, like 12 frames to accomplish the same thing. But you're clearly demonstrating that you don't need a ton of frames to get a lot of motion.
Yes. I am all about less frames for now, until you want to get into the super complex kind of like movements and that kind of stuff.
Sometimes you need them, but I think it's cool to see that you don't need necessarily as many as you think to accomplish like a really dramatic motion, because this motion it's obviously like really calls your attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited for it.
All right, so I'm erasing a little bit just to see how I want things to break off. And then I'm going to draw some stuff in too. So this one, I think when it breaks off, it needs to get a little bit skinnier first.
This is where like your firsthand experience with pizza really comes into play.
Yes, I know. Did anyone get pizza for lunch yesterday after this live stream? I was really craving it, but I didn't get to eat it.
I was really craving it too. Someone in the chat is saying just now, this is making me want pizza. So we're all on the same page here.
We're all on the same page.
Okay, so before you're breaking it off, you're making it elongate a little bit further, the other pieces.
Yeah, I think some of these pieces need to elongate before they
break off, right?
And start over. So let's just check that real quick. All right, yeah. So
I could see it maybe one or two more.
You can see the tip is breaking off, and then under the Z we'll have that break off in the next frame.
So it's so thrilling to see this all come together. Just a reminder for those who are just tuning in, if you're watching over on YouTube, come join us on Behance, behance.net/Adobe Live. We have a chat going on. We're talking about pizza. You can ask questions. So come on over. And for those who are already in the chat, let me know if you have any questions for Belinda. I'm happy to ask her and we can get your questions answered. So you leave the stream feeling confident and ready to replicate the same process for yourself. It's time, guys. It's time to get into animating on the iPad. It's so cool. Okay, is that going to break away now?
It's going to break away.
I'm so excited. I'm pumped for that. I'm excited to see like the final result with like all the different elements coming into play. It's going to be so fun.
So I'm toggling back and forth just to see. I've got one break off on the tip, one break off under the Z. And then we've got this P, the one under the P that we're trying to figure out. How do we want that to drip off?
Yeah, is that going to be the last drip?
Yes.
Oh, I like
because
it
I don't want a lot of frames.
yeah, I agree with you. And I feel like, it's whimsical enough that it's realistic in this world.
Yes.
Yes, Vanessa Puello is asking, first she says, love your work. So there's that. And
Thank
then
you.
how do you stay motivated and creative?
Oh, yeah. That's such a good question because I feel like the burnout is so real all the time and the lack of ideas is
Yeah.
just a regular thing. Now, I've been lettering since for how long has it been? Like 5 years now. And I feel like there's just an ebb and flow of motivation and creativity versus those dry spells where you're kind of incubating almost or like marinating in new ideas. I try to see it as that as opposed to a panic of, oh my gosh, I ran out of ideas. I don't know what to draw next.
Yeah.
So yeah, one is just embracing the ebb and flow of creativity. And then the other one is trying to take a lot of time away from my art, ironically enough, where I'm with my family, I'm watching TV, I'm out with friends. And it's so easy to get ideas that way when you're just not in front of your canvas trying to come up with the next idea.
Yeah, forcing an idea like on the spot is probably the worst feeling.
It really is.
It's just like so frustrating. Do you find that you're often juggling multiple projects at once, even or are you the type of person who like starts and finishes something immediately as it comes?
It kind of depends on what I'm working on. So when it comes to drawing, I like to focus on maybe 2 to 3 pieces so that I can bounce back and forth. When I get stuck on one piece, like this pizza one, I can jump to the soup one and finish that up.
Yeah.
And just kind of switch gears. I like to have a couple of pieces going on at the same time just to make me feel like I have got ideas running.
Yes.
So,
And like you said, if you get stuck, you have somewhere else to go while you take a break from it, right?
yeah.
Oh, that looks so good.
So starting to do that a little bit. And I'm looking for parts that aren't moving that look kind of funny to me. Okay. So that I can fix them.
Like which?
Right here wasn't really moving too much. So
okay.
Maybe this one, it just kind of like goes back a little bit to its original form because we want it
goes
to
inward.
A
okay.
Mm-hmm. And then seeing with these guys, like, I don't know, maybe the cheese goes back. It's a magical world. It can do whatever it wants.
It can do whatever it wants. Some of it can drip down. Some of it will just like wiggle back up.
Yes. Yeah, we're
I'm
gonna have
into
some
that.
of it wiggle back up. So it can be something like this.
Yes, I feel like that was okay. I think you have a total of 7 frames, and there's so much more just like interest brought by the motion element. It's so cool, and it was all done on the iPad on Adobe Fresco. Let me know in the comments if you're planning on using this little frame by frame trick in your next piece, whether it's a lettering piece or an illustration piece or whatever else you're making. Let us know in the chat if you're planning on use this or if you already have used this, because I know some people are probably already playing with the motion tools.
So we're going to go a little easier now and do our wiggle. Ooh. And this is when that count is going to come up for us because 7's a weird number to be in. So I'm probably going to add more frames to the pizza so that we're not in that weird number land.
Right. It is odd.
So literally. I'm going to just go ahead and draw over the sparkle so we can get that wiggle. Let me just make sure I'm doing the right thing right now. Okay.
And it's the same Kyle T. Webster ink brush, right?
Yep.
For the whole project. Okay, cool.
Yes. I'm going to just stick to this for the drawing portion.
All right. So while you're drawing that, I have a little question for you. Have you tried? This is inspired by the chat, you guys. Just so you know, I am reading the chat at all times. Have you tried dessert pizza?
I have not personally tried dessert pizza, but my kids really want to do it.
So it's in your future?
It's in the near future for sure. They were watching a TV show where they were making fruit pizza, I think. So it was like, it might have been a spread of Nutella or maybe whipped cream or something. And there was a bunch of fruit on top of it. I think that's so a pretty safe one to start with my kids.
That's so funny. The chat is just talking about Nutella on pizza. So I feel like, yeah, you You'll know exactly what they're up to, and I guess it's in your future. We'll have to tune into your Instagram to see if it comes together.
Who's a fan of Nutella? In college, I used to get the Costco size and just keep it on my shelf with a spoon to eat sometimes when I was studying.
Just a little treat, a little Nutella, a spoonful of Nutella.
Yeah.
Nutella's so good.
Call it like young 20s metabolism too. You have no guilt during that time.
That's true. Yeah, like I was telling you earlier, I just had a piece of sourdough last night as a little treat. I was like really into the sourdough.
So good.
I feel like I'm more into salty stuff than sweet. How about you?
I do prefer savory, yes, if I had a choice.
Yeah, I'm always like, I could go for extra round of French fries.
Yes.
Okay, so I feel like you did the three main sparkles.
Yep.
And so you did each one on its own layer, like not each star each star didn't get its own layer of motion. You did them all together, right?
Yep, they were all together. So they're all like frame 1, all of them frame 2 where they're moving again, and then all of them frame 3. So they're doing a little bit of wiggle. This. And then we're going to go back into the pizza now and add a couple frames so that it won't be weirdly cut off. Because I think that's what's happening right now.
Yeah, because we have 7. So this is what we were talking about earlier when you have like the one animation at 7 frames. Now you have to kind of make sure everything fits within that 7.
Yes. So I'm thinking I'm going to turn down my onion skin. So you can always turn this like on and off to showcase. I'm just going to turn it down so I see like maybe a couple of frames.
Okay.
So we're kind of getting to the return. And then I think for 2 more frames, we can be more at like a non-drippy form.
The non-drippy state of the pizza?
Yes.
Kind of go backwards a bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
To fill that loop, that circular motion.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm excited. I'm excited to see this all. And the reason that you're doing that is because you want to add 2 more frames.
Yes. I want to add 2 more frames to it.
Because then we hit 9 and the other ones were 3.
That will be in 9.
The math starts to make sense, you guys.
Yeah, I don't try to math too hard when I do these. Sometimes I just look at it visually and I'm like, something's off. And then I figure it out from there.
Yes. How do you usually export these pieces? I know I'm getting a little ahead of you, but while you're working on the drip.
Yeah. So these pieces I will usually export. Where did my pizza go? Oh, I deleted the whole thing. That's why. I'm going to just delete this guy because I did something weird to it. I will export as a movie frame. So
okay. As an MP4?
MP4, yeah.
Perfect.
Just because Instagram likes that. So I'll do that. But if I need to do it, like show it somewhere else, it might be a GIF instead.
Nice. There you go, guys. Yeah, I tend to export as GIF, but then you're right. Yeah, Instagram does like the video. So depends where you're going to put it.
Depends on where you need to showcase it for sure. Okay, so these guys can be gone.
Somebody in the chat wants another reminder on the brush. It's the Kyle T. Webster ink box. I feel like ink box inker, something like that.
Yeah, it's this amazing cartoon nib.
There you go.
You can get it under the mega pack. So if you go under to the plus sign at the bottom of your brush panel, you can hit discover new brushes. And I am following this mega pack here that has a ton of brushes. So if you download that right now, they'll probably take you through the rest of the session just to look at all the brushes that are there.
That's true. That's so true. Okay, while you're animating, can you tell us more about your career pivot, like how you feel like you were able to break into illustration and now a little bit of animation?
Yeah, so my career pivot was kind of unintentional. If you had asked me even just 3.5 years ago that I would be running my own business, I would have been like, no, because I don't like business. I don't like anything to deal with like negotiating fees and doing all that businessy stuff. Because I literally didn't know anything. So I classified it all under business and was just like, I'm going to work from somebody. They can deal with that. I'll just do my part. But I got really into lettering. After I had my first kid, I really felt a need for a creative outlet outside of work. So I started to letter casually, and then I started my Instagram to keep myself accountable for actually lettering on a regular basis. And I felt like after a year or so on Instagram, that was when it started to take off. And it was a year or so of regularly creating artwork and sharing to Instagram that I started to get inquiries from clients.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips for people who are maybe a little bit afraid of sharing their work? Because it does take a level of like courage, right? To like show off your work, especially when you're first starting out.
Yeah. I think one thing is, well, when I started sharing my work, I did it as a embracing the work in progress perspective. So rather than I am sharing this beautiful masterpiece, please like it, algorithm, please show it to people. It was more like, I'm just showing this. This is what I'm doing. If you're following along, great. If you're my friend, please keep me up, motivated to keep going. And not really feeling as scared about it being perfect because I knew that it was going to be a work in progress. And then I think the other thing that helped me is I wouldn't share, especially now, I don't share my work as soon as I'm done with it. I kind of keep it to myself for a bit. And I like to hold on to things because it makes me feel reassured that I have content to share on social media. But It helps for me not to post things right away as well, because by the time I post, I'm not so emotionally attached to that work anymore. In fact, I might not even like it as much anymore, just in terms of the shelf life of art that an artist likes of their own. Yeah. So that helps a little bit. You
sit on it for a bit, kind of see where you're at with it, and then you share it from a place that's almost less vulnerable, right? Because you've let some time pass.
Yeah, for sure. And then I think the other thing is remembering who you are sharing it for as well. We're not trying to impress like the best. I'm not trying to impress the best gurus on earth. I think if I did that, I would be freaked out every time to share my work. But I'm trying to impress somebody who is, or like inspire someone who was maybe where I was a couple years ago and feeling a little, discouraged about the progress of art. But I knew like I was there before, I experienced it, and here's where I am now. So let me show you a couple steps ahead to kind of encourage you to keep going as well.
Yeah, because I feel like artists definitely need that reminder that like, no matter where you're at today, if you keep practicing and you keep putting in the time, you could be further along, in a year and be where you wanted to be all along.
Yeah.
You need that reminder because sometimes it is super, super discouraging. And how do you not take kind of likes and just general engagement on social media personally? Or do you take it personally?
Yeah, I wish I could say that I don't take it personally at all, but I feel like, especially since my background was in biotechnology, which is like research based.
Yeah.
I have that tendency to focus on numbers, and I try not to, because I know especially with the way that the shifts are with the algorithm, it can be pretty upsetting sometimes to see what's going on and like not having your work be seen. So it's hard to detach from it, but I think talking to friends helps, where we can remind each other, like, this is not what you're here for. You're not here for vanity metrics. You're here to, spread your message, share art, connect with others. And if you can connect to even one person through your art, that was worth it for you to share.
Yeah.
So,
and like you were saying, like sometimes resharing your work brings in new clients, new opportunities, and it's not necessarily about the likes, right? Like something could have gotten low likes, but still been a client project that you're really proud of, or so depends where you put the weight, I suppose, right?
Yes, for sure. And some like that's the thing. Sometimes you might share work that doesn't get a ton of engagement, but if it reaches the right person, like a client, and you get hired for it, then it was
it's all worth it. Yes, yeah. Exactly. How do you feel like you are trying to reach those dream clients? Like, are you pretty strategic about it, or are you sharing and just hoping it finds the right people?
Yeah, I don't do any outreach with my client work. I haven't really gotten to that point, I guess. Maybe I'll do it, but for me, it's just a lot of work emotionally to put into doing that kind of outreach. But I do share my work on a regular basis on social media, which does help attract clients like Trader Joe's who are looking for art to license.
Yeah.
And then the thing that I do as well is I don't just share it to one platform. So I'll share on Instagram. I might post something on Behance if it's warrants like a longer case study or something that's like a detailed post that looks better in Behance dimensions.
Yeah.
And then Dribble, my website, across a lot of platforms. And I'll try to use keywords and stuff too, so that it can be more easily found.
Nice.
So
That's
I find
smart.
that helps. And
Yeah.
when I do get client work, I'll always ask the clients. I'll try to get them to tell me how did they find me,
Oh, that
so I
is
can double
so
down on that.
smart because it's so hard to know. And sometimes you think like you think it was from Instagram, but maybe it was word of mouth. Maybe someone recommended you. You never know.
Yeah, exactly. So it all helps to ask those questions and do a little bit of research up front.
Yeah. Okay, Belinda, where are we? I know we've been chatting for a bit. What's going on now?
I'm looking at the clouds and I'm thinking I might make them drift. And I'm just adding one single path to see how that looks.
And that can you tell me what's on that layer? Is it all three clouds or just one?
Yeah, it's all three clouds right now.
Okay.
They're going kind of slowly, so maybe we will make them go faster.
Oh, got it. Sorry. I think I couldn't see it because of the the opacity.
Yeah, and I'm just playing around to see
adding more clouds just like that.
Do I want more clouds? Do I want to like scatter it a little bit? Does that look funny? Maybe I just stick to one.
I like the idea of multiple clouds, but I'm wondering if like that they look a little too clustered.
Yeah, they look a little clustered.
Ooh, that looks nice.
So this looks a little bit better, right?
Yeah.
A little more spaced out. So maybe we can do two. So that we've got a few more than just three floating across the screen, but it's like pretty ambient. So just a little bit of subtle movement.
That is so cool that you can just like do like just with a couple I forget the word, sliders. You can just duplicate your artwork and just start creating a whole other world with motion.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I like. The least amount as possible for me to get this to move would be amazing, because I spent the bulk of my time drawing the thing.
Exactly. It's like by the time that you're doing the motion, you're just like, I finished this piece mentally.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just a nice way to add that extra thing if your primary work is static work and you just occasionally want to add animation. That's what I like to use this for.
Right. If you're trying to become like an strictly an animator, I could see this maybe not being as robust as you would need. But if you're an illustrator or any type of like 2D artist, this is such a cool way to add motion into your work.
Yep. It's very nice to do. And then let's see what this all looks like.
Ooh, this is it playing all together?
Yes. So we got three different things moving.
If you're not, if you have us in the background, come on over and watch this, because we're watching it play all together, all the different motion elements.
Yeah, we're testing it out.
Yes.
I think we could probably fix the clouds a little bit with the way they restart, but I'm good with where this is. We can get back to it later if we have some time at the end of the stream to finesse it.
Exactly. I feel like the clouds could maybe almost go back and forth or go all the way across, because everything else is like really seamless. But like you said, we can move on to the animating the other piece while we're here. Yeah, let's do it. So we'll get back to that if we have time at the end of the stream. Otherwise, those would be the remaining elements that you would do for the pizza tweak. So this is amazing, because yesterday we did not get to touch this. So all you supers, I'm calling them supers, in the chat, check it out. We have the good soup design right here that we were brainstorming yesterday. It looks so cool. I love the puffy letters. They're my favorite. We got puffy letters, and we're going to do some puffy animation to these letters. And I have this at a degree that we left off with the pizza one, just in case some of you are curious on how I add some of the details to it. I'm going to do some of that right now. So yeah, what details are we going to add first? Okay, so this is nice, a good start, a good shape. We're going to do some animation to it, but I think we can add some extra details to it with shadows and highlights to give it some more dimension. So I am going to go in there and add some of that. Yeah, I love to like see how everything gets made. Yeah, because you finished off that piece from yesterday, the pizza one, and it's like has so much more texture and dimension today. And now we get to see how it all comes together, you guys. Yeah.
So I'm picking a slightly lighter color.
Okay.
To add in some highlights just to make it look a little bit puffier.
Yes. Oh, yeah. That's giving it the cloud effect for sure. We have a question here from Karina. What social media platform are you using the most, do you think?
I think if I had to pick, I prioritize most of my energies to Instagram.
Yeah.
And then after that would be TikTok for like regular posting. And then I'll come to Behance, which, was more of a portfolio site when I have more of that kind of work to show.
Yeah, like a finished project.
Mm-hmm. And then when I have the energy to, I will go to Dribbble and Pinterest as well.
Yeah.
But those are secondary priorities for me. So it's more like if I have the energy, I will. One day when I have more capacity, I'll be a little bit more intentional with those platforms. But for now, it's just on occasion when I remember, I might share something there too, because I've had clients find me on both of those as well.
Interesting. Yeah. Where clients live versus where you consume content can sometimes be completely different worlds.
Yes. And I keep on all those platforms right now because I have had client work from all those platforms. I feel like I shouldn't neglect them anymore because I've had some success with that.
That's true. That's true. What kind of work are you sharing on TikTok? I know yesterday we were talking about artists being intimidated by Reels, and you're super proficient with Reels. What's going on TikTok? How are you finding like the art community there?
So TikTok, what took off for me when I was sharing content there was sharing the educational aspect of the work that I do. So a lot of tips and tricks on digital art was something that I felt like was content that came naturally to me with my planning that I enjoyed doing, and also connected with other people who were also looking for quick tips. So I like to do a lot of educational stuff with digital art and freelance tips, and then pepper it in with just having fun on there and doing trends adapted to my niche that might highlight me as an artist, but maybe with a funny twist to it, or me as a parent entrepreneur with a funny twist. And also art process.
That's really fun that you're kind of leaning into that. I feel like a lot of people are afraid to, and I love that you're just embracing it and going for it, because it's just like, yeah, it's a fun place to be. And it's every time that it comes across my feed, like everything that comes across my feed is so perfect for me that it's like so fun to be hanging out there, and creating as well.
Yeah, I think what the benefit of TikTok, I feel like, is it is a less perfectly curated place and a more experimental playground than Instagram is currently, at least.
Yeah.
So I like going there to just have fun sometimes. I hate dancing. So if you feel like doing TikTok means you have to dance, you do not have to do that. I do not do that. It would be a pain, like very painful to watch me do things like that. So don't feel pressure as an artist to have to act on trends in that way.
Yeah, you don't have to point or dance if you don't want to, or do lip syncs if you don't want to. You can find your own style. Do you have any tips for maybe artists who have yet to experiment on TikTok? Like any tips for them to start creating there?
I think starting with simple things would be good, like taking the path of least resistance with how you're creating your content. So rather than spending 3 hours trying to make this perfectly edited video, maybe you spend 5 minutes doing a transition trend, because there's a lot of those, and do a transition from your sketch of an art that you already created to the final of the art. And you can fake it. Like you could just sketch something really quickly to show the before if you don't have one, or turn off your layers in an artboard to show something that's more unfinished, or even screenshot a time lapse, because you can do that in Fresco. Yeah. You can screenshot the process in there.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people feel like if they finish something and they didn't capture the process, like it was lost. But there's so many ways, like you said, to use transitions, and also to kind of work a little backwards to build the video that you need to show off that piece. And there's no harm in doing that, right? Like you did the process, now you're just showing it off.
Yeah, you're telling the story of your process. So if that means you have to fake it a little bit, there's nothing wrong with that. If that's going to help someone see, here's how I started and here's how I ended. You know, we all start the same way. You can find encouragement from that too.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like sometimes it's hard to pre-plan a video. And so working backwards, especially when you're first starting out, is a good way to kind of just get that like the thinking going behind video.
For sure.
Just a little reminder for people just joining us. We have Belinda Kou. She's showing us how she animates and creates using Adobe Fresco for iPad. If you're tuning in from YouTube, come over to Behance. Come join us on Behance. We have an amazing chat going on. In the chat, that's where I can answer your questions from Belinda, and we can get everything sorted out for you right here, right now, live on the stream. So join us over on Behance while Belinda keeps working ever so diligently on this piece.
Yeah, all right. Texture.
Yeah, you're adding like so much more depth just by using that brush and just like adding the shadows and adding the highlights. It already starts to look so different.
I'm trying to see what's more interest.
What's going on in the chat. The color palette is very pastel. Yes, it is. Based on her work, we know that that's a fact, and she masters her pastels. So I love that. Let's see. All right. So where are we at now? Are you walk us through this moment? My head was like gonna go sideways.
Yeah, I'm adding a little bit of textures to my bowl right now, just to give it a little bit of dimension and a little bit of interest. And the brush I'm using, in case you're curious, is one of the spatter brushes.
I love it. Yeah, yesterday you used the noise one. Today you're using the spatter one.
Yeah, and so many another one here that you can download in the a spatter brush pack. So you can go in there. This is the organic one. I kind of just pick it based on how I see those dots, and sometimes I'll adjust it too, and maybe scatter it out a little bit more. Oops, not the stamp, but like that, so that it's not so clustered together.
Yeah, you can customize the brushes that you have included in Fresco, so you can even tailor them even further to your taste, like Belinda's done. We have a question here from Nicole. Do you have any suggestions for improving your hand lettering aside from practice, obviously, like tutorials or things to trace?
Yeah, I know. Don't you hate practice as the default answer? I used to give that all the time, but and I'm like, it's not helpful.
I need a little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah, give me something else. So books helped me a lot, and classes. So books that I love is Jessica Hische has a book that's called In Progress that gives you tips on lettering. Martina Fleur has one too, and Ken Barber. Those are my top 3 favorite books. Is one by Martina Fleur, one by Jessica Hische, and one by Ken Barber. And they all have their own unique styles, which is why I like having all 3, because it's a mix of stuff that you can access from, and they all have really great tips in there. And I actually have a blog post of my favorite, like my top, I think 10 or 8 favorite hand lettering books. So you're welcome to check that out if you're looking for books to learn from and improve your lettering. And then like Skillshare classes are nice to help improve lettering as well.
Yeah, it's a lot of like, you have to like kind of take that ownership to learn on your own.
Yeah, because it's like you can practice up to a certain point, but when you get to a point where you're like, okay, I'm practicing the same thing over and over again, I don't know where I need to improve, that's a good sign to start looking into the class to see who's an instructor that I would love to learn from, whose style that I really admire, see if they offer a class or a book or resource for you, and go there.
Yeah, because you mentioned yesterday that that's what you did for your Hungrily Ever After series. Am I right?
Yeah, so I did that because I felt like I needed accountability to get things going, and probably a better structure to follow for my project that I had planned. Yeah, and that was a nice place to get that. And also community, like having accountability from somebody else is really nice too. Like I can have friends take a look at my lettering and tell me what's wrong with it when I can't tell. Like I can tell something's wrong with it, but I can't verbalize what that is.
You can't.
I'll have friends. I'll have friends like tell me like, oh yeah, well that's because your angle of your letters aren't matching each other, and they're too close together for you to have to, like, you got to get them to match.
Right.
That was not an intentional thing. So
sometimes it takes that second perspective. Just because someone has a fresh set of eyes, they can give you that input that you're missing. And I think you're right. Like a big part of it is accountability. Like so that you have that follow through, because sometimes it can be really hard when you're self-taught and like I guess is the word like self-learning learning on your own. It can be really hard to stay accountable and stay like diligent with your practice.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that's always a tough place. when
Yes.
when you did your Hungrily Ever After series, how long was that? Speaking of like accountability and pacing and stuff like that, how long did that project take you?
That took me probably half a year pacing it out. So
Yeah.
from planning to what I called finish. I feel like it's not a perfectly ended project. I can still keep going, kind of like keeping that door open.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it took me 6 months to crank out 18. And that was like my main focus. Like all my personal work that I was doing at the time was only that project because I didn't have the capacity to do anything else. So I was like, I'll just focus down on one thing right now and do it. And posting it online helped because my posting schedule was about once a week. I was making a new piece, and then a couple of breaks here and there to spread it out a little bit longer. But people could expect me to post that week or have that next story. So that helped me to keep going because they were like, okay, you said you're going to do this story next. Where is it?
Yeah, you can find accountability right on social media, whether it's Instagram or TikTok or wherever. If you share the project that you're doing and then tell everyone what the pace is, and they can hold you accountable for you.
Yeah. And it's nice because it's not like in a bad way. It's more like, oh, I'm so excited to see the next one. When's it coming up? You know?
Right. Yeah.
So it kind of keeps you going. Yeah.
For sure. How did you land? Because I know we were talking earlier that you never thought you were going to be a freelance artist. You didn't expect that. How did you land like your first client project? Because I feel like that's kind of always the first hurdle when you are self-taught, right? And you're just like exploring this world on your own. I feel like when you go to university for art, they kind of give you a little bit of a plan. So how did you go about it?
So I didn't ever really want to do much freelance at all. I was like, I just want to draw. But then I started getting inquiries first from friends and family who knew I was doing it. So it's like, oh, can I commission you for something? Like my spouse has a birthday coming up, or we have an anniversary, or, I want to gift this to my daughter. I started getting those kind of commissions. So I was like, do I try it? Do I not? I don't know. But that would be nice to, give something to my friends in a different way, like a different kind of gift. So I started off with that, which built up good experience for me in terms of having to, well, first of all, even if they're friends, write a contract, being able to get some of those little things down, like how do I write a contract? What is the creative process like when you've got someone who's weighing in on the decision-making creatively and figuring that out. So that it started that way. And then in terms of starting to get other clients outside of friends and family, I think that happened late. I don't know how much later, maybe like 6 months to a year later, I started getting inquiries. And the first one that made me feel like, oh, maybe I can do something with this was the Washington Post reached out for a commission.
So exciting. I bet you were over the moon that day, right?
Yeah, I was really excited. I remember because I got the email at work and I was like, I want to answer this. That's pretty exciting. Someone actually wants to hire me for my lettering. Like, that's cool.
Yeah.
And they found me on social media. So that was why I got really excited about using social media too, because I felt like most of my initial clients were finding me on social media, and some were coming to me because they had already been following me on social media. And they were like, oh, I've been following you for a while. Like, we finally have a project that we think would be a great fit. And would you be interested? And for me,
that's
I was like, yeah.
Amazing. It feels like for you, social media opened a lot of doors. And I feel like that's the case for a lot of artists now. Like, social media is one way to get your foot in the door. Even if, let's say, you didn't have like formal training, or which I think is mostly just because you get a really big network when you go to school. So that can usually kind of launch your career. But now with social media and everything, if you start putting your work out there consistently, like you have, like it just goes to show that you can still kind of grow your clients just from sharing your work online.
Yes. Yeah. I feel like there's a lot more potential now because of social media. Whereas back when I was first ever thinking about doing illustration, social media wasn't as popular at the time. Like I wasn't on it, at least. I was not on Instagram, except posting my own personal photos with those filters when Instagram first started. Yeah. So I didn't even think that, like, I felt like I needed a better network before doing any kind of freelance, but social media really helped to speed that up.
I love to hear that. That's like so encouraging for anyone listening or tuning on into the stream or even catching the replay of the stream. Like you can keep going if you just keep being diligent and sharing your work out there. Eventually, you know, as you develop, you can grow your clients and expand your network just like Belinda did. It's so like encouraging. I love it.
Yeah.
It's heartwarming.
And if this makes you feel better too, when I first got my inquiry for Washington Post, I think I had under 3,000 followers. So you don't need a massive audience either to get work.
Yeah, I think that there's a misconception around that. Do you think that like why do you think you don't need that big of a following to land client jobs?
Well, for them, it's not like they're looking for me to have a giant following. They were looking for the style that I was offering for their work. And it was something that I was doing consistently at the time. So they knew that I could pull it off because I had a few different pieces that looked that way. So that was nice. I think the only time when you need a larger following is, and it's not even larger following, but it's like larger engaged following, is when you might want to partner with brands for social media brand collaborations. That's when they start to look at like metrics and stuff.
Right. But if they're hiring for your skills as an illustrator, it can be completely independent of your skills and mastering social media itself.
Yeah. They just need to like your style and your ability to work with them. So.
And have like a project that makes sense for your style at the moment, right?
Yeah.
So nice. I feel like a lot of early creatives kind of get stuck there thinking they need a large following, and obviously it helps to have a large following for other reasons, like you're saying, brand collaborations, and even if you want to like have your own online store, you can see that it makes sense if you have a bigger following, but you don't need it to get started as an illustrator necessarily.
Don't let that hold you back.
No, don't let it hold you back. What would you say are all the different ways that you are working as an illustrator now? I know you're obviously doing illustrated projects for clients. Are there any other types of projects that you're taking on these days?
I have a mix of client work, art licensing, and now there's a newer angle of doing work for clients that are educational based too. So it's not just making the art, but it's teaching others how to do that with programs that I like to use. And I'm working on digital resources so that for people who are asking about color, for example, my fellow lettering artists and I were working on that resource together to offer to people. So eventually I'll start building that up as well. Like, how did I get here? I will offer resources to help you get to where I am as well.
So. Amazing. I feel like it's all coming together beautifully for you, right? Like both all the different like types of work that you're putting out there. And I know you had mentioned you had an education background, so it like makes total sense for you to be exploring that path.
Yeah, slowly but surely. It's a much slower pace than I thought at first. I think when I first started freelance, I just like went into it with all the adrenaline, and now I'm kind of evening myself out, especially after a couple of years at home with the kids due to the pandemic. I'm like, okay, let's pace this out a little bit better so I don't
make
burn
it a little
out.
Sustainable. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, but it's slowly building, and it's been a joy to do it so far. Even the hard parts of freelance, which there are a lot of hard and messy, hot mess moments, it's still totally worth it for me based on where I was a couple of years ago. I was like, I'm glad I quit my job. I have no regrets.
I love to hear that, because so many people are in that place where it's like very scary to take that leap.
Yeah. So I have a little bit of detail, a little bit of dimension. I think I could add more, but just based on time, I want to get our puffy animation in as well for this good soup cloud. So I'm going to start doing that. And if we have more time, I can add more details to this piece to finish it up. But it's nice because I can go back in to add those details without messing up my animation. So
yeah, that's beautiful. Okay, so we have about 17 minutes until we do our artist spotlight, which I'm not going to spoil just yet, but that's just to give you a little clue of where we're at, and then we'll come back still to work after that. So just to give you a little estimate on time.
Yes, and I'm only glancing at the chat occasionally, but I did see a question about using the same brush piles. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm using this cartoon nib for like basically everything. And then the organic spatter brushes for a little bit of the texture that you might see right here. And that's pretty much it. Like I don't use too many brushes unless I'm in a moment where I want to experiment with everything because I might have just downloaded a new pack. But otherwise I end up defaulting to maybe like 2 to 3 brushes.
Why do you think you keep like a tight grip on how many brushes you bring into a piece?
I think it's just because I end up liking it and I just end up using it a lot. And I like not having a ton so I don't forget which ones I'm using.
That's true. So, yes.
Yeah, it's just for a practical reason for me. And I do feel like once you start using them consistently, there is a more consistent style and look to your pieces too. So that's what I
was getting at, is I think that if you use too many brushes, sometimes, depending, obviously, I'm sure some people do it so well, but it can get a little chaotic, almost like using a lot of fonts. You know,
totally.
It can be tricky.
Okay.
Yes. So everyone's always so obsessed with the brushes. I love it. I love that everyone's getting into it and seeing all the possibilities here. Okay, so you opened up the motion graphics for the text, and the text is all together in one layer, right?
Yep, they're all together in one layer.
Okay.
And I am going to do a simple like poof, basically.
Yeah.
So we had the final, which is right here, and now I'm just thinking about having it poof out. So it's just going to disappear completely. I'm just going to draw in this next frame a bunch of little dots.
Oh, okay. I was expecting something else. I'm very excited to see this. I was thinking of like of it like poofing in and then poofing out to good soup, but you're going to make it like steam out. Yeah,
I'm just going to like pop it out and then have it evolve back into good soup.
Amazing. Yeah, that's going to be so cool. I'm excited to see this happen. Ooh, Wade just said you can favorite your brushes, and now Fresco will show you your last used brush.
Yes.
That's very convenient.
That's a great point. And I'll show right here. There's your favorites. These are mine. You just put a little star next to it. And then in recents too. I think it's because I'm in the motion panel. You can't see it right now.
Yeah.
Or if I draw with it, but it'll show up. And it's nice too, because if you forget, I love that Fresco has that list for you where you're like,
that's so handy. Yeah. Sometimes I find myself writing it down. Like I'll add another layer and just write like the brush name and the weight so that I don't forget in case I need to come back.
Yeah. So it's poofed out, and this is a blank. This frame is completely blank, and I'm thinking I might hold it for a little bit longer. So it's poofed out, pause, and then poofing in again. So here's the part where it can poof in. I got to turn my frames up so I can see this still.
Right.
And I like to just have them like, because this is going to go pretty fast, I'm not going to make it very perfect at all. Maybe it'll just start out as like a little ball.
I feel like that's how you know you've done this so many times. Like, you know how what you can get away with without getting into like granular detail.
Because I love that.
Worked on this many times. I feel like that's what takes practice, is figuring out like how to think like an animator.
Yeah. And I'm such a detail oriented person, so it's nice to break away from that sometimes.
Yeah, because you just want to get the motion in, like, the final illustration you already are in love with,
Yeah.
Well, this is a great question from Rebecca Tran. At what point did you decide to quit your full-time job to pursue lettering full-time? Like, did you wait until you had a steady stream of clients, or did you just jump into it?
So for me, it was probably more specific to my own situation at the time. I was not getting a steady stream of clients, but I did have a good amount of savings. And I have a spouse who is bringing in a steady income as well. So financially, we assessed whether or not I could leave my job, and it was fine for me to do it at the time. But my main reason for breaking into freelance was because I was juggling a full-time job with 2 little kids and also side gigs, and I just wasn't sleeping at all.
Yeah.
I was not getting enough sleep. Yeah. So it was quite a lot of work, and it was putting on a lot of stress in terms of like just our family life balance. And I knew where I wanted to go. Like, I was really into the freelance, but I felt held back because I like the comfort of having a stable job and income and benefits. And it's like, I don't know if I want to like break away from that. Like, what if I try this freelance thing out and I fail? But because we had that financial cushion, and upon encouragement from my husband, he was like, just try it out, because if you fail, you can always go back and get a job. Like, it's not like you're gonna be broke forever. There's still that option.
Exactly. Yeah. I feel like obviously you're risking, giving up the position that you had at the moment, right? So that's never guaranteed.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of jobs out there, different jobs. You can always go back to some sort of steady paycheck if you need to. And do you feel like, well, I know now that the risk was worth it because, look at where we are right now. But do you feel like it helped once you left that job, things were faster for you? Like you were able to focus? Do you feel like that part was significantly different?
Yes. I had so much more like ability to focus on my work, on my like lettering, and being able to handle like the business side of things. I did feel like that took off as soon as I broke off. And it felt like a good sign to me at that time, because leading up to me leaving my job, I started getting all these client inquiries at the same time. And I was like, okay, this feels like a good sign for breaking into this thing that I'm super scared about. And I felt like remembering that I can always go back to find another job or pick up a job even, and work on the side. Like having that option nearby made me less scared to make that leap.
Yeah, I feel like, you were getting a lot of good signs. And something that I like to remember is like, it's always going to be scary to leave a stable job.
Yeah. I don't feel like there's always
there's never going to be like a great moment. You just have to figure out what's right for you. Right. So like you figured out, like you did a risk assessment with your husband and you were like, okay, it could be worth the risk for X amount of time. And look at you now. I love it. I love seeing that.
So it's been good. And I think I also reached a point where I was like, you know what, if I don't try, I'm going to spend the rest of my life regretting it and wondering what if. So I should just try it out.
Yeah, it definitely takes like a lot of nerve. But yeah, it's like, you wouldn't take it back, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, I would not take it back. It's been worth every experience so far to do this.
Yes, I love to hear that, because a lot of people have that kind of that dilemma in their head, and it's never going to be perfect, and you need to figure out what works for you. But if it's a calling for you, maybe there's something you can do to make it happen.
Yes.
Okay, give us a little recap of what you're doing here.
So I have been formulating the formation of these letters. So I've got all these frames turned on so I can see what the outside of that first frame looks like. And I do want it to kind of wiggle a little bit in this formation. So yeah, you can see like this is where it started, and it's just slowly getting bigger and it's going to poof out for a little bit. And I have to go back into some of my frames because I forgot about these guys. But
yeah, it's always hard when you're working with the onion layers, like to tell where you're at exactly. But I feel like I'm noticing what's happening here, and I can see it almost playing. I know it's going to be really good once we get there.
Yeah, that'll be the moment of truth.
Yeah, it will be.
We'll play.
If you drew everything in one layer. Oh, yeah. That's the worst feeling.
Did I draw everything? Did I forget something? I already know I forgot some of the outside puffs, so I'll go back in and do those. But yeah, it's like that moment of truth.
It's tricky. Guys, make sure you get your questions in. We're going to be going to an artist spotlight in about 8 minutes. So get your questions in. We still have time to get you your answers while we sit here and animate this good soup piece. Let us know, because we're here for you. What was, speaking of like, how you transitioned and everything, was there one really big project aside from the Washington Post one that you mentioned earlier that you felt like you were like, yes, this is it, I'm doing it, maybe more recently?
I have some that I don't think I can talk about yet. So yes, there are definitely those projects. And I have, like a bucket list of different types of dream projects, dream clients. So when they started to reach out was when I felt like, again, it was like a great sign that I was doing something right. I think after the Washington Post came a couple of food companies who were asking for me to make graphics for their social media. So I got to do some food-based stuff, which I was really excited about. And then after that was NPR, which I was really like over the moon when they reached out. So I was like, oh my gosh, I know this client and they want me to draw something for them that's going to be on their website. So
that's so exciting. It's like so satisfying. Have you worked in, well, I know you've done the greeting cards, but have you worked in any like out of home kind of projects that really stunned you or anything like that?
I have done the live lettering for Coach. So those are like product customizations.
Yeah.
That was definitely out of my house.
Yeah. That was in real life.
Yeah. In real life, drawing in front of customers on luxury bags. It was a stretch for me to try that out. And I was like, yes. And then spent the weeks leading up to it, figuring out how to do it in a way where I could hold a conversation and draw something nice and custom for the person who was looking for that.
That's so tricky. What kind of practice were you doing?
I was practicing on fabrics. So I like went to the stores, got a bunch of like leather fabric and then got the paints. Cool. So I practiced on that and just get it down. You know, I was so involved with digital things. I was like, okay, let me just go back to my analog roots and just get this down first before I actually show up in store. I do have a blog series actually that I did with my friend where we talk about how to prepare for lettering or painting on leather for custom events. So there's more information there if you want to check that out.
We'll definitely have to check that out because I feel like, you know, I hope for the day when, you know, we can show up in stores more comfortably and then that'll take off. I'm sure like those customization and in-store kind of artistic events, hopefully, right?
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. I'm very excited. What's going on here? Fill us in.
So I have most of my frames going from the beginning to the puff and formulating. And now I'm going back in to find the places that I forgot my cloud puffs on the sides. So I can get those to come in as well.
Yes. So, that's how you know this is a real stream. She's working in real time here, guys.
Working in real time.
NPR is awesome.
They are so great.
Cool. I'm very excited to see this all come together and play out. I feel like I've learned so much from this motion graphics panel because I don't have that much experience with it. And now I'm really looking forward to adding some motion into my work. There's so much to play with here.
There's a lot for sure. Like I'm only touching the tip of the iceberg of what you can do with this feature. Mm-hmm. So there's so much that you can do in here.
What's your favorite soup?
My favorite soup?
We've been on the soup drawing and we talked about your favorite pizza yesterday. I'm like, what is your favorite soup?
It depends on what I'm in the mood for. So you could do like, I love Korean stews of any kind. They are harder to draw though. So I'm not drawing that today just because, but I do like a good hearty like vegetable soup, the chicken soup. Those are all good too. But yeah, if I were to pick, Korean stews are so good. Like kimchi stew and sundubu, the soft tofu stew is like so good.
That sounds good. I love tofu. Okay. I would have to say mine is ramen.
Yeah.
Just like a nice vegan ramen. I get so excited about it. I know it's not traditional necessarily, but I get so excited about it.
Yeah, I put that more in like the noodle category with the soup.
Yeah, I guess you're right. You're good.
I would pick ramen too though, otherwise.
I guess you're right. I guess maybe like, what about pho? Like pho is still, is
delicious.
That more soup or more noodle?
I don't know. I mean, I think it can be whatever you want it to be.
On this stream, it's soup.
On this stream, it is soup. So pho for sure.
We have another little question here before we have about 3 minutes before we head into our artist spotlight. Oh, wait, hold on a second. Maybe we can wait here because this looks amazing. Is this done?
It is almost done. I just don't want us to run past our artist spotlight. I would probably add a few more frames to hold on the good soup lettering so that you can read it. But this is essentially the bones of it. Yes.
This looks amazing. When you first said that you were going to animate it to puff, I thought that you were going to just make the clouds maybe like good puff out a little and in like this. Mm-hmm. But you've made it appear from steam.
Yes.
This is so cool. I feel like this is another level of animation. And that took you maybe like 20 minutes?
Yeah. So it's pretty quick.
Sick. That's because you're like, you have experience animating. So I know that it's faster for you than it would be for me. But this is very encouraging, I would say.
Yeah, it's fun to do for sure. I'd probably do like a couple more frames
Yeah.
to hold on this longer, but I know we
Go
had a
go.
question and we have an
Yeah,
artist
go for it
spotlight.
while I
So
ask you this question. So, the question from Rebecca Tran is, when you started posting to social media, did you only post passion projects that you did, or did you only post works that were in the style you wanted to get hired for?
I posted work that I did, period. So I did not have a strategy when I started in terms of reaching clients. I think if you start off right, like start out right away trying to be strategic about how to reach clients and all that stuff, it might kind of ruin your creative flow to finding your style, especially if that's what you're also simultaneously trying to figure out. So
I
for
would agree
me,
with that. Yeah.
yeah, I just posted what I drew because I was proud of the fact that I actually drew something. And after that, once I started to post more consistently, was when I started getting more strategic. When I felt like I had a style, I would double down on that style and share that. But it was a slow layering of adding on to that strategy every time. I think the first hurdle was just sharing work regularly.
You didn't wait to find a style to start posting, right?
I did not wait.
There
Nope.
you go. Because I feel like a lot of people are waiting to find their style before they start sharing consistently. And it's like, that's holding you back, because the more you draw, the more you will find that style. The more you share, the more people will find you.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of
So
goes hand in hand, right?
definitely don't let that hold you back from sharing. I went through a period too where I literally was like, I don't like this old work. Do I delete it from my grid or not? I had to ask people and they told me just to keep it. And I'm really glad that I did that because I can see where I came from and other people can see where I came from as well. And bonus, if you don't mind, clients sometimes will dig all the way back there and want to license that work too. So you can even get paid for it. It's pretty nice.
You are so smart, because I had not thought about that. I had thought about, like, it's good to show your evolution. It's good to show your roots, how it all kind of came to be, right? Because those old works did somehow influence your current work. But yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. It can get licensed, it can have a second life.
Exactly. So there's many reasons for why you should keep your work online.
I love it. Okay, I think when you're done with this S, we'll go into our artist spotlight, which I'm so excited for. And then once we get back, we have about 10 minutes, you guys. So if you have any final questions for Belinda, once we get back from the artist spotlight, drop them in, because it's your chance to get your questions answered right here on the stream. Until then, it's time to move into our artist spotlight. I'm so excited for this one. I know that you suggested it, Belinda.
Yes.
So when you're ready, we can pop on over to it.
Okay. So in light of people who have gone into freelance recently from other jobs, I have a freelance partner that I want to feature. She's not as active on Behance. Oh, not Behance. I'm going to go to Behance on here. But I think her work deserves to be seen by you guys. If you don't know who she is, this is Huyen Dinh, known as Miss Huyen Dinh all over the internet. And she creates a lot of playful pastel lettering about feelings and self-care, shares a lot of words about your creative journey, encouragement on freelance as well. Like here's her Dear Artist series, which I think is so nice to read through.
So nice. It's so beautiful. Like I can see the pastels that you guys are like both working in the pastel color palette, but like this is gorgeous and cute and also so inspiring, right?
Yeah, I mean, take a look at this project right here and you can get words of encouragement as an artist of things that we all struggle through. Like, do we have original ideas? And, I might not feel really good about the art that I'm creating, but she's got a note right here for you on the top left that will encourage you to keep creating that art. So
yeah,
I love that
and
she's
like
got these messages.
Not to take unfollows personally, because that's like, because social media can feel really personal, but a lot of it, we're just on an app and we don't feel that connected necessarily. When we unfollow people, it's not malicious, so it's like these messages are so encouraging, and then they're delivered so beautifully. Like the characters, I'm calling them characters because they have eyes, but like the icons are so playful, so colorful, so much hand lettering elements.
Yes, they're beautiful. Very cute. And she's got this overthinker merchandise that is really awesome. I own this sweater too. It's super comfy.
Oh my gosh, we're all gonna have to get one.
I think we can all relate to this, right? Like
Yeah,
Who
I
else
feel
is a
like
professional overthinker in this chat?
yeah, I feel like everyone who is an artist is a professional overthinker because you have to analyze your work all the time.
Yes, exactly.
And she lettered that herself, right?
Yep, this is all lettered by her.
So cool, so
then,
playful, so colorful. I love that.
Yes. And then
I also wanted to check out, she has this one, if you scroll down, it's like a box that it was like a mural box.
This one?
Yes, you can
Yes, you
one.
can.
Yes. I wanted to show this because like it goes to show how her work can live outside of like digital. And I think that's really cool. Like you can work digitally and then have moments where your work is in physical spaces like this.
Yeah, you can see this in LA. She worked on it with another artist, and it's just like a really fun pop of color that you wouldn't expect on something like a utility box. So yeah, it looks great as a mural.
It looks so cool and it's so encouraging. Like the messaging is also really, really powerful. So I love that. What else does she have? She has plenty of amazing stuff that we can look at.
Yeah, let's look at something else here.
Ooh, I like the case to file on. I feel like she's working on both her own personal products. Then she has her client products like this and commercial products. So I feel like that is so cool. It goes to show like if you're an artist, you can work across different lanes.
Yes, exactly. Like this is art licensing, but she's also sharing this kind of stuff on social media and people are vibing with it. And now they can get the product as well, to just have that message like you go girl on your case every time. I have a phone case from her as well, which is the busy doing nothing one. And it's a super nice message to remind yourself. You can see it right here with the cute little flower laying down.
I love it. I love it. It goes to show like how many places you can put your work in. And I think that's really encouraging, especially when you're first starting out and you're, you know, people are like, you're going to be an artist. You know, they're like, what? It's like, yeah, I'm going to be an artist. And it's everywhere. It's everywhere that you look, you know?
You can really just showcase it in all different ways and styles and forms, physical and digital. So yeah, that starving artist stereotype is, I think, slowly being chipped away at.
Yeah, I feel like there's so many artists crushing it. I love that she also uses a lot of different kinds of type. Like she also incorporates the illustrated elements along with the type so well. Like every single thing just comes together. And I love that she's doing that because it just goes to show like you can really put your own twist on words and phrases and stuff.
You really can. Yeah. And she pushes that sort of playful, encouraging, happy angle really, really well with her colors and her illustrations and styles.
So sweet. Let's go back to her page. I feel like there's one more we can check out. Let's see. There's so much. I like that Canon one looks cool.
All right, let's look at this one.
I thought this one was
campaign.
Yeah, I thought this one was cool because it's like a digital product that is also physical. It's like plays this in this weird world because she created these stickers digitally, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, they're available in this app and then you can print them out. So it's like such a cool experience. And she had to work in like both worlds. And it's so sweet.
It's a few different angles too, if I can break it down for you guys, where different ways that you can get hired. So you can get hired to create these custom stickers like what you're seeing utilized on these photos. But you're also doing it to promote a product for a client that they can use. And at the same time, as you can see down here, she's also being hired to promote it on her social media channels. So there's a social media brand collaboration angle as well on top of this project.
Yeah, so they're hiring her as both the artist, the talent, and her product within their own app, right? Because this is like a Canon app thing. Yep. So that's really, really cool and just goes to show like all the different ways, like you said. I love that. I feel like people don't realize all the different ways you can work as an artist. And both this example and the last one really, really like double down on that.
Yes, for sure.
Lovely. So her work, her name is Huyen Dinh. Am I right? Yeah.
Yep.
Huyen Dinh. Yeah, she's a Vietnamese graphic designer and illustrator based in LA. And I am so glad you showed us her work. It's beautiful. It's playful. It's encouraging. And the chat is like obsessed with her work already. So thank you so much for this artist spotlight.
Yes.
And before we move on back to Belinda's stream, don't forget to submit your recommendation for creatives to highlight for our next artist spotlight. Just head over to the artist spotlight tab at the top of the chat and send your nominations. It's that simple. You can drop your nominations and they could be featured on the next artist spotlight in the next Adobe stream. So anyway, thank you, Belinda, for sharing her work with us. And I think, let's get back to work. Let's get back to the good soup, please.
Yes. Please be sure to give Huyen Dinh a follow on Instagram and Behance.
Yes.
So you can keep up with her beautiful work.
Yeah. They dropped all the links in the chat. So if you want to check out her work, go there and make sure you hit follow.
Yes. All right.
I love it.
Back to good soup. Where were we? We'll play it to see. Okay, I got to finish one of those frames because I'm missing that. And have you guys seen that meme / TikTok trend? I almost thought about, because it's Adam Driver sipping on soup and he goes like this. I almost thought about doing this for the animation too, but I was like, let's keep it simpler and we'll leave that part out. But
right. But now we know your intention. Yeah. The full vision is coming together here.
The full vision.
All right. So this is a reminder for those in the chat. We're at the last about 10-ish minutes of the stream. So drop in your questions. We'll get them answered before it's time to wrap up. But in the meantime, Belinda, I've got a question for you.
Yes.
From Jamie Chen. Have you ever been in a situation where a client was familiar with an older style that you no longer draw in and wants you to draw a new piece in that style? This is tricky.
Yes.
This does hurt. Yeah.
It's a tricky one because you're excited to work for that client, but you are not excited for that style, right?
Yeah.
So I have definitely been in that position before. I've even been in the position of a client wanting to license an old piece of mine that I was like, I can't associate myself with this work anymore. And I basically I will recommend a newer and improved version of that work that they're asking for and just tell them like, this is the style that I currently work in. And here's the reasons why I think it's going to be really great for this project, and do a little pitch to go in the direction that I know will be a better product for them because it's the style I'm currently working in. Like I can't do that old style anymore. So
yeah, it won't come out of you anymore. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, it can't happen. And I will tell them in a better reframed way of why it'd be better to hire me for, a more updated style.
Yeah. And I also think like if they liked your old stuff, they'll probably like your new stuff. Like the odds are really high, right? Because you still has that essence of whatever it is that they liked previously, just kind of more refined, more developed. You've grown in a few years. Yeah, that's a tricky space to navigate.
It is. And if it makes you feel any better after doing that, I did not lose the gig. It did go through. So for those instances, which I think it was only a couple of times that's happened for me, but we were able to work up a different and better solution.
Yeah. What about, just going off of that, what about like art licensing? If you have to license like an old piece, do you feel the same way, or do you feel a little bit less or more removed? Is what I'm trying to say.
I think it might depend on the project. Like one of these pieces, it was going to be something that would have my name on it, and I didn't want to be associated with it. But if you still got to pay the bills as an artist, so I don't think there's anything wrong with letting them license something old that you've done, that even if you don't love it, maybe it works perfectly for their audience.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yes. Yeah. I feel like that's really good to know. Like, you have to do what you have to do. If you can get them on board for a new project, amazing. And if not, you can work it out.
Yes.
with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. We have a question here from Philip. Where did your work get discovered by NPR or other clients? Where do you think most of your work gets discovered?
My social media platforms. So I don't remember where NPR found me. I think it might have been through my Instagram or my Dribbble, I think. So it was one of those two platforms, I want to say.
Yeah, I feel like you just have to keep consistently showing up on all of them and just waiting for someone to find you, because it's going to happen sooner or later. Like, it's not like if you only post on Instagram, it's going to go better than if you only post on TikTok. Like, they both really are going to play with each other, right?
Yes. Yeah.
This looks really good. I noticed how many more frames did you add to the good soup?
I have a total of 10 frames right now. So
we
did a little back and forth.
Yes, it looks amazing. It looks like so seamless. Like, really, like you just had this vision and you just pulled it off. I absolutely love it. And I love that, like, the first couple frames don't have a ton of detail, because that's where I would get caught up, is like thinking the G still needs to look like a blobby G.
Yeah.
But like, you don't really need that. You made it look it looks like my eye believes it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I did a scribble.
Yeah, you did a
So
scribble and it worked out great.
it worked out great.
So you
And
don't have
now
to overthink it.
don't overthink it. Just have some fun. I'm on the spoon right now. I'm thinking maybe I'll make the spoon hover a little bit.
Oh, yeah, that would be fun.
I could
You're
just
going to
do
do it
this.
with a path.
I did it with a path, and like it's super subtle. I mean, I guess I could make it more obvious if I wanted to.
This is really interesting. I hadn't thought about using the path like that to just make something float.
Yeah, because I like floating things.
Yeah, because we already have that motion going on with the soup.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that is really subtle, but it does add like another element of whimsy. Is that the word? I think that's the word.
Yeah, like you can make the spoon float a little bit. I could even go in and make the ingredients around it do their own little things.
Yeah.
I'll have to separate them out onto their own layers so that they can work better that way. But
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of opportunity here for you to push this further.
There definitely is. Do you have any other, with the last like 10 minutes that we have of the stream, do you have any other like go-to tricks and tips that you use in Fresco? Just like, this is like last minute, blow your mind. Everyone in the chat's going to be like, what? Had no idea I could use that.
Let's see. So one thing that I do love to use in Fresco is I don't know if you guys have noticed me using it when I was coloring in stuff, but like I'm using a textured brush, but when I go in to fill it in with a bucket, sometimes you get this line around it.
Yeah.
And what's nice is, yeah, it is, right? And you can actually fix it. So when I do this, if you look on the bottom left, as soon as I fill in that bucket, there's a color margin that pops out, and I can just turn it up so that those lines disappear.
I had no idea about that. I was definitely working the long way and just being like resigned.
Coloring it in.
Yeah, I'm just like, okay, this is just my life now. I have to color everything in manually. I had no idea about that. That is so cool. Let me know in the chat if you've used that before or not, because I definitely hadn't.
And it's nice because you can adjust it live if you do it right away. So
oh, cool. And is that something you can use that with any color, right? It's not like some colors work better than other.
Nope. Yeah, you can use it with any of these brushes. Of course, some brushes work better than others. Like if I do the spatter brush, it's not gonna work. But if I have a toothy brush like this one, just make sure you can check on that color margin. I think it's a newer feature, so you'll have to also make sure that your Fresco is up to the, current.
Up to date, yeah.
Up to date, yeah.
Which is always good because then you get all the motion graphics and everything else that we've been talking about.
Yes.
You don't want to miss out.
No, you don't. And there's other little cheats that I like to do too. So one is, let's make sure I'm on the right brush. If you don't have the setting turned on, you can snap to a straight line like this, which you access through your settings, and you go to, I think you go under, is it input? General? It's in here somewhere. I did have that turned on at some point. So I like doing that.
Yes, I think it's in here, snap line.
Yeah, right here.
Right there. If you don't have that turned on, you have to turn that on because it's going to make your life so much easier when you're making clean cut lines.
Yes. So very nice for that. Any other clean cut line?
Yes. We have Nicole Mark in the chat saying, I had no clue I was coloring the little spaces.
Yes.
So
now you know.
Now you know.
It's going to save you so much time, which is what I'm all about. I have this right here. As you can see, I even used it to draw my cup is under at the bottom. Your drawing aids.
Yeah.
So they are like stencils on top of the canvas, but they're digital. So if I have this ruler, I can draw on top of it and I have a straight line. I can like rotate the ruler how I need it to.
That's so cool. That's very realistic too. It's like very natural to how you would use it.
Yeah. And then you've got your other shapes too. So circles are perfect because those are hard to draw sometimes.
It is really hard to draw.
And do this, it's much faster than you drawing it perfectly manually.
And then you just like outline it, or can you fill it?
You can fill it or you can outline it. So if I have the square here, like I can just follow, I can just follow along the edge of the square. I turned off I just touched a bunch of things. So let me just get out of that. Let's get out of the motion panel. Make sure we are on a new layer here. I might have just added.
We have a lot happening in this file here.
I know, I should have started a new file, but you can draw around it like this.
Mm-hmm.
But you can also fill it in too. And I think it'll like ask you. Yeah. So it'll ask you how much, like, how do I want to fill it in? I picked pixel. You can do vector or pixel, whichever you want.
I love that. That is so handy because shapes are always really hard. And then when you're doing them on your own, like it can get chaotic. I've definitely been guilty of importing like a PNG shape just to try and do the shape. Have you done that back in the day?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I've done that before back in the day. And there's also these shapes on the left side that you can import into, which is
And
like
there's a whole
Adobe
library?
Capture is a whole nother thing. I actually have not tapped too much into it, but these are like vector files that you can use to stamp into your canvas as like reference. Or
I've definitely used Adobe Capture to capture fonts.
yeah.
And to capture color palettes from like cool stuff that I see. Like if I go to a museum, I'll use Adobe Capture and like take pictures of like vintage stuff and then pull in the color palettes right into Fresco. It's super handy for that.
Yes, super handy. I've done it for like food items that I know that I use over and over again. And if I want to do something more complex in the composition, I'll use Adobe Capture to draw that one thing, like shrimp. Yeah. Sometimes shrimp gets to me when I'm drawing it. So I'll do that in Adobe Capture and then move it around as a stencil, and then draw over it to make each one unique again.
It's so like your own little sketch library. Like you sketched it once and you can just keep incorporating it. Mm-hmm. That is so smart. I hadn't thought of that. There's definitely things that I draw all the time that I'm like, yeah, I wish I can just like clip art it into my own drawings because I made it myself anyway.
Yeah, exactly. It's your work. Let's see. Another one that I like to do that I've been doing during this demo, I mentioned it yesterday, is if I'm drawing with this toothy brush and I need to erase something. So like if I erase something, it's like that, which I don't love because it's a hard edged eraser. Yeah. What I do instead is I will hold down the touch button and erase with the same brush. As you can see that pop up on the top right there. It's saying it's erasing with the same brush. And then if you double tap it, it stays.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that helps you just like not have those random hard edges from the eraser, right? It looks like a more purposeful stroke.
Yeah, it's more seamless, which works really well if I say wanted to add this texture here, but erase a little bit off from it. I can use that same spatter texture to erase instead of trying to mimic it with a different brush.
Right. Then it gets all tricky, right? Exactly.
Yes, totally.
Ooh, I love that.
More tips. Let's see. So
let me give a little shout out to the chat. If you have any questions, last minute questions, now's the time to get them in. Belinda is a fountain of wisdom and information about hand lettering and illustration. So if you have any last minute questions, drop them in the chat. We'll answer them. We have about 5 minutes left on the stream to wrap up. So get them in, get your questions in. In the meantime, Belinda, show us more things that you use in Adobe Fresco to finish off your work.
More things that I use. So I love to group my layers together, as you can see here and down at the bottom. I think I have a few other groups, or actually I might just have a group for this one. Oh, and I have a group for my lettering and stuff too. So easy ways to select multiple layers to group them together is to, again, press this button here, and you can select more than one layer at a time, and then press that folder on the right to do it. So I use that a lot.
For sure. Do you ever use the text to like the fonts that are available here to lay anything out?
I don't actually. I think I've done it maybe like once or twice before. I do love that there's that option there, but oftentimes I'm just drawing my own stuff. So if I'm using, if I'm using any Adobe fonts, it's for a reference for maybe certain stroke weights or how like a serif looks, as opposed to directly using it in my canvas.
Got it. And what about, do you have any preset guidelines, like for your text do you have any in Fresco? I think there's some available as preset, but I'm just wondering, do you always make those from scratch yourself?
I do actually, because they're often different. Like this one doesn't have any guides. I'm just moving it around. Yeah. So the basic things that I always start with when I'm setting on my canvas is I'll use the grid toolbar right here to set up the grid that I want. So I'll turn that grid on and adjust it to whatever I want the grid lines to look like for my layout, to serve as the guide for the guides that I draw.
That's like the pre-guide to the custom guides that you add on. I love that. I feel like you're very organized. We got to look at your whole process, and you were so fast with the animation. I am like mind blown, and also like excited to animate myself, which is something that is rare for me to say.
Yeah. And I mean, again, like with our pizza one, if you just want to do a 3-frame animation, that's the perfect place to start in Fresco if you've never done animation before. And then you can just amp it up with the motion path, as well as adding more frames to your work for more advanced stuff.
So cool. We learned so much. Okay, so since we have to start wrapping up for the day, can you give us just like a recap of everything that we learned over the last 2 days for those who maybe missed yesterday's stream and, for anyone watching the replay?
Yes. So, recap, we have created 2 different lettering pieces. This is one of them, good soup. And let's see, did I mess up our animation at all when I was doodling on top of it?
No.
Here's an animation.
So cool. Yeah. And like that, I'm going to call out that floating spoon in case you missed it. It's right there and it's so cool. And that was just like a simple path.
It was a very simple path. I literally just did that little tick mark on the canvas and now
Flick of the
my
wrist.
spoon floats. So yes, this is nice.
And you can see that same technique you could see yourself using that same technique for the floating vegetables if you wanted to too.
Exactly. Like I could make these vegetables in this pizza one float as well, which I will play this one. And this is the one where we're like, okay, if we were to go back into it, we'll probably make the clouds a little bit more seamless with that loop.
Yeah.
But this is another way to animate with frame by frame.
That drip is really like mind blowing. I really feel like that is some frame by frame animation, some pro level frame by frame. And I absolutely love it. And I can't wait to use that technique because I feel like you really helped me see that the animation can be pretty simple to kind of still create a lot of emphasis.
Yes, for sure.
Amazing. All right. So now we're wrapping up. Thank you so much, Belinda, for your time, for showing us all these amazing tools and different ways to use Adobe Fresco to both illustrate, hand letter, and animate our work. You really, I think, blew a lot of minds during this session and yesterday's session. So thank you again.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been so fun doing these food doodles with you guys and picking out which direction we wanted to go in with our animation as well as our lettering yesterday. So
yes,
you guys all got something from it.
Definitely. So thank you once again for the stream. Please be sure, everyone, to follow Belinda on Instagram, on Behance, on TikTok, on all her social media so you don't miss out on all her work. And don't go anywhere because we have a new set of Illustrator Creative Challenge with Jack Watson, immediately followed by day 2 of Web Design with Kelsey McCormick. Once again, thank you so much for being here with us today. Thank you, Belinda, for the incredible work. And until next time, everyone, I'll catch you guys later. Have a great week. Bye.